When you talk about America being under attack, one only has to look at Congressman Eric Swalwell, a member of the House Intelligence Committee that appears to have had a long-time relationship with a Chinese spy now known as Fang Fang. No surprise, Swalwell refuses to answer any questions about the spy, his relationship with her, and what may or may not have been disclosed to her at the time. Look at the response he gave Fox News. Take a look at this.
Congressman Swalwell, do you plan on stepping down from the committee or anything like that? Or resigning from Congress? Can you tell us anything about your relationship with Ms. Fang? Anything in general?
And we will not stop reporting on this story until we get real answers from Swalwell, or he simply resigns from Congress, which is what he should do. We also need answers from Nancy Pelosi. She claims she's not concerned, but that seems grossly naive for a woman who is anything but naive. Pelosi is quiet because she is partly responsible for this mess. I am sure that she knew about Swalwell's connections to the Chinese spy before she assigned him to the Intelligence Committee. And if that is true, Nancy Pelosi is guilty of putting America's foreign policy secrets in jeopardy. This is normally the part of the story, though, folks, that I show you these outrageous media clips surrounding the Swalwell story and reporters defending him. There aren't many. You know why? Because the media is covering it up. It's suppressing this story. The New York Times doesn't see it as a story. And as of yesterday, ABC, CBS, and NBC Evening newscasts have not dedicated 1 second to the story. To discuss all of this, Republican Congressman from Georgia, Jody Hice, is with us. Congressman, great to have you back on the program.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
Congressman, are you as concerned as I am about all this? I'm not hearing a lot about it on the news from lawmakers, but you heard one woman there. She said this is big.
It is big. It's absolutely huge. And when you add to this the breach that really came through a Chinese spy and the relationship she had with Eric Swalwell over a course of about 5 years, and he, of course, serves on the intel community, you wonder how much information was released through that mean. And now we have this with the Russian hack. This is the Treasury Department, the Energy Department, the Defense Department, who knows where else. This is huge, and we are just now getting briefed on it as members of Congress, and it is chilling from beginning to end. We know this has been going on at least since May of this year. Who knows how much before then? Who knows how much information has been stolen?
So, Congressman, certainly we know that China, there's no doubt, I believe they would work with the Russians on this, so certainly sharing information is probably happening. Do you believe this is an act of war?
It could be. You know, we are just, I'll just say for me, we're just now getting briefed on this and getting the information. I don't think at this time we fully know the damage that has been done. But if what has been done reaches the level of possibilities of what we most fear, then this could be certainly something that, without question, needs to have a U.S. response.
You know, it all comes down to leadership now. We have the prospect of a Joe Biden presidency looming. The Senate is of the utmost importance. You and I have talked about what's going on in Georgia. You're congressman from Georgia. I called for the recall of Brad Raffensperger. You said it's time to start thinking about it on this program. You sent a letter to Raffensperger, and you want some answers, and you want him to answer to your congressional committee. Why don't you tell me about what you're doing to ensure that the vote is proper come January 5th for these runoff elections?
Yeah, and surprisingly, we've not heard anything from the Secretary of State's office. We want to know, first of all, what took place in November. Where was the breakdown? Secondly, he claims out of one side of his mouth that this was the most secure election in history. On the other side of his mouth, he recognizes and acknowledges that his office itself has some 250 open investigations into potential fraud. Well, you can't have it both ways. And so we want to know about those 250 investigations. But now we also want to know what actions are being done to ensure to the people of Georgia and the people of the United States that this upcoming election in January, on the most important Senate election in our nation's history, is going to be secure to the extent that only legal ballots are cast and only legal ballots are counted, and we have no answer so far from him.
Are you amazed, lastly, Congressman, of the lack of response and it seems urgency that has come out of both the governor's office there and Brad Raffensperger's office in Georgia?
And to be honest, I'm stunned. I mean, this is if we lose the integrity of our elections, we lose our republic at the end of the day. This is what separates us, and we cannot we cannot sweep under the rug anything that would undermine the security of our election system. And to have such silence coming from our leaders in Georgia to make sure that what happened in November does not happen again, ever, let alone coming up in January, is just beyond my ability to comprehend, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, mine too, Congressman, mine too, and I'm sure to all our viewers out there, it's incomprehensible to them as well. The mainstream media is a joke today. It cares more about protecting Democrats than informing the public about national security threats. And speaking of national security threats, Joe Biden still refuses to answer questions from a legitimate reporter, if there ain't left out there, about his son's business dealings in China that certainly appear pretty darn shady.
It's used to get to me. I think it's kind of foul play.
Oh my God, it's real news, not foul play. He's not concerned. Your son is allegedly on video with an underage girl. He appears to be smoking crack in these pictures. And the billionaire Chinese businessman that Hunter dubbed his partner has gone poof, he disappeared. And Joe Biden is not concerned about that. That one comment alone, folks, makes it clear Joe Biden is unfit to be president. Not to mention, Hunter is under federal investigation for tax fraud and money laundering crimes surrounding those business deals in China and the Ukraine. So Joe Biden may deny knowing anything about it. But new text messages between Hunter's ex-associates, James Gilliar and Tony Bobulinski, tell a totally different story. One says this, and I'll quote it, "Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face. I know you know that, but they are paranoid." Well, they weren't paranoid. They didn't want to get out. Don't mention Joe being involved, they declare. Sounds like Joe Biden knows more than he's leading on. This is exactly why a special counsel needs to be appointed to look into this matter. Even the president agrees with me. And so does our next guest. Joining me now is the advisor to Presidents Clinton and Trump and Newsmax analyst Dick Morris. Dick, welcome to the program.
Hey, good to be here. I agree with you, and so does the president. The difference is the president can make the appointment of special prosecutor, and he ought to do it tomorrow.
So when he does this, and I think he will ultimately do it, he's got to get the Bill Barr situation handled and a new attorney general appointed for the last few weeks of this if he doesn't keep the White House. What do you make of a special counsel? What would you like to look at? And this would make it clear that that special counsel stays no matter who's in the White House, correct?
Yeah, I mean, politically, you can fire the special counsel. I mean, legally, you can fire the special counsel anytime you like. But politically, you can't touch him. I mean, that's why Trump couldn't fire Mueller as much as he wanted to. And he should have. He could have. But you just can't do it politically. But look, this is when a special prosecutor is appointed, he can look at anything his peripheral vision finds, not just the thing he was hired to investigate, but whatever wrongdoing he comes upon in the course of his investigation. That's the language of the statute. And here, I believe that there is one big investigation that needs to happen, which involves Hunter Biden and his activities, the bribes paid to Hunter Biden and paid by Hunter to Joe as part of this deal in Ukraine, in Moscow, and in China, and Chinese hacking of this election. The DNI, Director of National Intelligence, has indicated that the intelligence community finds that there is significant evidence of foreign intervention in this election. And Ratcliffe, the DNI, needs to specify what that is. And that hacking, whether through Dominion or directly in other ways, needs to be part of this investigation. Remember that 3 of the 7 board members of Dominion's parent company are themselves Chinese nationals. And the guy who's in charge of technology and management at Dominion is a guy named Wang, who worked from 98 to 02 for a company that's been identified by the U.S. government as a Chinese government front. And and finally, Dominion received its parent company, received a $400 million payment from a Chinese-affiliated bank 4 weeks before the election. We need a special prosecutor, probably the same person, to find out what that was for.
Well, certainly, Dick, these are serious allegations. It would be nice to have somebody in law enforcement, special prosecutor, or even the FBI, investigate them. I've put out numerous calls to Dominion and emails to ask them for comment. They've never come back at this. And then the whole issue of a special prosecutor, boy, this could lead right to Joe Biden. Now, my biggest fear is if Joe Biden does take the White House, I don't know how I feel about them going after Joe Biden. Then the prospect is of a Kamala Harris. I'll give you the last word, as her being instituted as president.
If Joe Biden is impeached, the Democrats will never win the election in 24.
Yeah. Well, that about sums it up, Dick, 100%. As always, my friend, it's great having you on the program. Get some rest. You're a busy man, maybe the busiest in TV, Dick Morris, so I hope you enjoy the weekend. Thank you for coming on tonight.